Tuesday, November 16th, meeting of the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee. I would like to start off by establishing a consent agenda. I'm going to put these items on the consent agenda, and if you want anything pulled off, just raise your hand and let me know. I'll go through the numbers briefly, and then I'll read the captions if no one else has reason to pull them off. RS 2021-1253, RS 2021-1254, 1255, 1256, and 1257. Does anybody on the committee want to pull any of those resolutions off consent? Having seen none, I'll read the captions. 2021, 1253, Van Rees and others sponsors recognizes the 100-year celebration of the Fairfield Four and the continued legacy of the McCrary sisters. RS 2021-1245, Syracuse and others sponsors brings awareness to human trafficking in Tennessee and to encourage the hospitality industry in Nashville to post signage and attend workshops concerning human trafficking. RS 2021-1255, SWARA sponsor honors Clara Muhammad School of Nashville on its 50th anniversary. RS 2021-1256, Withers and others sponsors recognizes November 20th, 2021 as Transgender Day of Remembrance in Nashville and Davidson County, Tennessee. RS 2021-1257, Hurt and others sponsors recognizes December 1, 2021 as World AIDS Day in Nashville and Davidson County. Once again, anybody want to pull any of those off of consent? All right, do I have a motion? Councilmember Porterfield.
My apologies for stepping in. I just finished with another one. I don't have the number in front of me, but the McCrary's and
That's 1253. It was
consent?
listed on consent. Do you want to pull it?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Oh, excuse me. Yes, ma'am. I apologize.
Thank you.
All right. 1253 is now not on consent. Any others? All right. Do I have a motion to move the consent agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Now we'll move to RS 2021-1253, recognize the 100-year celebration of the Fairfield Four and the continued legacy of the McCrary sisters. Do I have a motion? All right. Councilmember Porterfield, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you so very much, Chair. Councilmember Van Rees cannot be here. She's the lead sponsor on this legislation, and she was hopeful that we can get this pulled off the consent agenda and just request that once it hits the floor that everyone voting in the affirmative could be listed as a co-sponsor because this will be displayed prominently downtown, and we wanted to get all of the signatures of our colleagues on the legislation if appropriate. So we just asked for support from our colleagues.
Okay, thank you for that. I was going to ask to get on this myself. So we will move to pass it here, and would you make that appeal once it's brought to the floor?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank
I will
you.
ask for the Murphy's Law on this one. Thank you.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Now we'll move to late items. My understanding is the late resolution by Councilmember Allen is not going to be considered, so we'll move past that. What's that? I don't see. There's a late resolution by Councilmember Henderson. I do not see her, so we'll move that to the heel. There's a late amendment by Councilmember Rosenberg. Councilmember Rosenberg's here. Councilmember Rosenberg. Hey, Kevin. You want to go ahead and do that now? All right. Do you know why it's late?
We can check with staff. I'm sure it was either housekeeping or a timing issue.
Anybody with any objections to the late filed nature of Councilmember Henderson's resolution approving an interlocking agreement between Metro government and et al.? I don't see any objection, so without objection, we'll move past that. Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. Councilmember Rosenberg. Councilmember Rosenberg. We're on your late amendment to the American Recovery Act Plan funds. Just want a brief explanation of why it's necessary to be late.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's late because I heard the concerns regarding, all the elements of the resolution, and it came to me as an opportunity to alleviate some of them, so wanted to offer it as a possible solution.
Any objection to this amendment being late filed? Without objection? Thank you, Councilmember Rosenberg. Now we have bills on second reading. BL 2021-978 Virture is the sponsor, readopts the code of the Metro Government of Nashville and Davidson County, Tennessee, prepared by Municipal Code Corporation, including supplemental and replacement pages thereof, containing certain ordinances of a general and permanent nature enacted on or before June 16, 2021. Councilmember Virtue is not here, but Councilmember Johnson, I believe you might have signed on to this. I actually sort of like muting your microphone, so go ahead.
How nice. So yes, I did sign on to this. This is just I think it happens annually, actually. We just readopt the code, so I signed on to it in Council Lady Virtue's absence, and I would encourage everyone to vote yes.
Okay, we got to get it on the floor here. Do we have a motion?
I'll move it, please.
Second? Do I have a second? I'm assuming Councilmember Murphy just seconded the bill.
She did.
So, all right. Any discussion on Councilmember Johnston's bill? All right. Without any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, bill passes. That concludes our bills and our resolutions, and now we will move to elections and confirmations. So we have several elections and confirmations to consider on the Board of Equalization, Historical Commission, Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission, and the Stormwater Management Committee. And so this is how we will proceed. We have all of our wonderful appointees sitting in the gallery. We're going to bring you up into one of these two seats right in front of me. And what I'll bring you up is I'll bring the person who is going to be considered, and we'll also put the next person to be considered up here so we can get through this efficiently. And so we'll call you up, and I will keep renewing the on-deck batter, for lack of a better term. So we will first consider Miss Lori Caste, and on deck we will have Mr. Roger Farmer. So Mr. Farmer, if you'll come sit up here on the seat to my right, and Ms. Caste, if you will just sit right in front of me in one of those microphones, we will proceed forward. So committee, we are currently considered the Equalization Board appointment of Ms. Lori Case as an alternate member for a term expiring April 1, 2022. So I just have a couple of questions. Are you a Davidson County resident?
Yes, I am.
And would you please tell us, do you serve on any other boards or committees?
No, I do serve on some committees for
Any other boards in metropolitan Nashville?
Greater Nashville Realtors.
Oh, those aren't metro boards, so that's fine. Okay. And would you just slip up close to the microphone and tell us why it is that you want to serve in this capacity?
I've been a hearing officer for the past 11 years, and I have served the property assessor's office, and I'm willing to serve on the board to help our community.
Any questions for Ms. Caste? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Well, thank you, Ms. Case. We appreciate you coming before our committee. You're recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
On deck, we have Ms. Melba Jackson. If you would come forward, and Mr. Farmer, if you'll just come up here. So we now have the Equalization Board appointment of Mr. Roger Farmer as an alternate member for a term expiring April 1, 2022. Thank you for agreeing to serve, Mr. Farmer. I just have a couple questions for you. Okay. Are you a Davidson County resident?
Yes, I am.
And do you serve on any Metro boards or commissions?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And if you would step up to the microphone, just pull it close to you, and explain to us why you would like to serve in this capacity.
This is my first year to serve on the Board of Equalization as a hearing officer. Spent a lot of time there. I like helping my community a lot. And so I think being part of this Equalization Board would be a great opportunity to continue to serve our constituents throughout the Metro Davidson County area.
Thank you very much for that. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Farmer? Seeing none, all in favor of his appointment? Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Farmer. You are recommended for approval by this committee. Thank you very much. On deck, we have Dr. Jane Landers, and we will now hear from Ms. Melba Jackson. How are you, Ms. Jackson?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So this is the Equalization Board appointment of Ms. Melba Jackson as an alternate member for a term expiring April 1, 2022. And I have just a couple of brief questions for you. Are you a Davidson County resident?
Yes, I am.
Do you serve on any Metro boards or commissions?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. And if you wouldn't mind, just pull the mic close and explain to us why you want to serve in this capacity for Nashville.
Well, I would love to serve in this capacity because of my experience with working with the Property Assessor's Office as a hearing officer. And I just want to contribute my services to Metro in whole, and I think I can do this job very well.
Thank you very much for that. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Ms. Jackson? Seeing none, all in favor of her appointment? Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Ms. Jackson. You are recommended for approval by this committee. Thank you very much. Do we have Ms. Hadcock? Ms. Alicia Hadcock? Yes, ma'am. You want?
Thank you. Elizabeth Waits, Metropolitan Clerk. We were notified that Ms. Haddock has asked to withdraw her nomination.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Waits. Appreciate that information. So, Ms. Janie Camp, you are now on deck. Dr. Landers, if you would come forward, appreciate that. Thank you. We are now considering the Historical Commission appointment of Dr. Jane Landers for a term expiring August 10th, 2025. Thank you for being here. I have a couple of brief questions for you. Are you a Davidson County resident? Do you serve on any other boards or commissions with Metro? Okay, and if you wouldn't mind pulling that microphone up close so we can hear you, if you would just explain to us why you want to serve in this position.
Well, I was thrilled to be nominated, and I've worked with public history my whole career. And in Nashville in particular, I've been working with Fort Negley for some time now, and also some work with the Hermitage. So I look forward to being able to use my historical research and public history work to advantage here.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Landers? Seeing none, all in favor of her appointment? Any opposed? All right, Dr. Landers, you are recommended by this committee for approval. Thank you very much for being here. All right, we have one more, and that is Ms. Janie Camp. If you would come forward. How are you? Very well, thank you. This is the Stormwater Management Committee appointment of Ms. Janie Camp for a term expiring October 31st, 2025. And Ms. Camp, I have a couple of questions for you. Are you a Davidson County resident?
Yes.
And do you serve on any other Metro boards or commissions? Okay, and if you wouldn't mind just pulling that mic up close to you and just explaining to us why you want to serve in this capacity.
Thank you. It is an honor to be nominated and considered for the Stormwater Management Committee. Stormwater and flooding is a key research focus of mine at Vanderbilt, and I've lived in the Nashville area since 2004 and have seen the impacts of flooding, and it's a serious concern, and I'm hopeful to be able to help us deal with flooding issues as we move into the future.
Well, thank you very much for that. Are there any other questions? Yeah, this is something I really don't like to do, and that's cut Councilmember Murphy's microphone on. So, Councilmember Murphy.
Well, I'll remember that comment as you sit next to me for the rest of the meeting. And I told Ms. Camp that I would be doing this because I've known her for several years and have been extremely impressed with her professionalism. She is very active in her professional engineering association. And if you look at this resume and all the awards she has received, this is a no-brainer. And so just thank you. I know that you have a lot on your plate, clearly, and you have 2 small children, well, growing children, as we discussed. And so thank you for being willing to give up this time to serve the community, because we definitely need our stormwater regs, just really enforced and strengthened everywhere. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
And I don't mind cutting it on for those kind words.
Thank you, Russ.
Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Evans, let me find you. There you are.
Thank you. I appreciate you turning on my microphone so quickly. So I'm very interested in your appointment, mainly because I do think that stormwater management and flooding issues are really one of the most substantive issues that we have in Davidson County. And I often wonder, as a council person, when I get complaints about stormwater, are our standards significant enough in consideration of, the increase in rain, that Nashville has had, plans that were approved maybe, a little bit longer ago versus, issues that we're seeing today. And so do you have any thoughts, I guess, related to your profession and what you see on the stormwater side and residential concerns? In some cases, I find that it's education that's a big important part. But then in some cases, there's some issues that are really hard to explain, even outside of education. So I'm just curious if you had a perspective on that and where you think our opportunities are.
Absolutely. I'll try to be brief. I'm happy to have a conversation later. But yes, we are seeing significant, intense storm events with more precipitation than what we've historically, designed for. And Nashville's growing. There's lots of development. The low impact development regulations are an effort to help that, but we have a lot of infrastructure related to stormwater that just can't handle the amount of rainfall we're getting in some of these situations. So, you're speaking exactly to the things that are of interest to me for research. And Nashville, I will have to say, has been, hit hard more than once and is trying to be proactive, and I appreciate that. I like the term unintended consequences, and a lot of times, unfortunately, as engineers, we're using historic data, and it's really hard to take into account the global models and downscale that to something that's useful for the engineers and design. And we can't replace all the infrastructure, so we just have to be smart and identify what we can work with on the short term to mitigate the impacts and take care of our people and property the best we can moving forward. But we have to start designing and thinking about infrastructure with a focus on the future and what we anticipate coming down the line. So this is very much in line with the research that we're doing. So does that help?
Yes, for sure. I'd love to talk to you a lot more about this issue
Okay.
at
Happy
any
to
point.
chat.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate that question. We all have heard a lot from our constituents, and we understand so much about stormwater concerns, and appreciate very much you serving in this capacity. Are there any other questions or comments for Ms. Camp? All right, seeing none, all in favor of her appointment? Say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, you are now recommended for approval by this committee, and thank you very much for being willing to serve in this capacity. Without anything further, this concludes the meeting of the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee.